Today, we are pulling back the curtain on the world of digital ads. But, we're not going to talk about the ads themselves. Nope, we're looking at the invisible rules, the quiet, technical standards that literally stop the entire system from collapsing into chaos.
I mean, really think about that for a second. Every single time you load a web page or open an app, there's this lightning-fast global auction happening in the background to decide what ad you're going to see. It's an unbelievably complex dance. So how on earth does it all stay in sync?
Well, that's exactly what this explainer is all about. These so-called secret rules, they're not really secret. They're just powerful industry standards, created by people who knew they had to bring some order to the madness. And understanding them, that's the key to understanding how the modern internet actually works. So, let's dive in.
First things first, we need to set the scene. We need to understand the environment where all these rules operate, and that is the programmatic ad marketplace. The best way to think of it is like a digital stock exchange, but for ads, and it all happens in milliseconds.
So, what is programmatic advertising? Simply put, it's what happens when machines do the ad buying. The old way? That was all about phone calls, emails, and signed contracts. The new way uses incredibly smart software to do it all automatically, literally in the time it takes you to blink.
And that's the crucial difference right there. The shift from slow, manual work to these hyper-efficient automatic auctions. But that incredible speed, that massive scale, well, it created a whole new set of massive problems.
And that brings us right to our first huge problem. In this high-speed world, how do you even know what you're buying? Let's take a look at how a standard called GPID helps solve this massive identity crisis.
This analogy is perfect because it's exactly the problem advertisers were facing. The very same ad slot on a popular website would have a totally different ID from every single ad exchange selling it. It was pure chaos. Buyers couldn't tell if they were bidding on the same thing 5 times over, and it was impossible to consistently buy the ad slots that were actually working for them.
And this is where GPID comes in. It's such an elegant solution. Think of it like a universal product code, the barcode on a box of cereal, but for ad space. The publisher who owns the website creates one single, unique ID for an ad slot, and every single platform that sells it has to use that same ID.
I mean, the difference is just night and day. Before, it was a mess. A buyer would see a dozen different random codes for the exact same premium spot. But with GPID, they see one clear, logical name. They know precisely what they're bidding on, no matter who's selling it.
And the impact is just huge. Get this. Data from Index Exchange shows that publishers who actually use GPID see their ad prices, or CPMs, go up by an average of 26%. And the reason is simple, right? Buyers are willing to pay a lot more when they have confidence and know exactly what they're getting.
Okay, so problem 1 is solved. We can identify an ad slot. But here's the next question. How do we know if the ad was even seen? This was another massive headache for the industry, especially in mobile apps. Let's look at the standard that fixed it, OMSDK.
This quote just nails the chaos before OMSDK. Every single company that measured whether an ad was viewable had its own little piece of code, its own SDK. And for an app developer, that meant having to install and manage all of them. It was a total nightmare that slowed down their apps and created all sorts of conflicts.
So the industry, led by the IAB Tech Lab, did something brilliant. They came together to create one solution, the Open Measurement SDK. It's basically one universal ruler that every single measurement company can use. Instead of everyone bringing their own yardstick to the party, they all agreed to just use the same tool.
The whole point was to create one standard that works everywhere, from your phone to your web browser, that everyone could trust. It literally moved the industry from this fragmented, messy state to a unified system where measurement just works.
And here's the really smart part. OMSDK also builds in trust by focusing on security. It gives publishers control over how much data a measurement script can actually see. This creates the perfect balance. Advertisers get the transparency they need to know if their ads were seen, and publishers get to keep their apps and users secure.
All right, let's move on to our next big challenge. We've got these ads that aren't just simple pictures anymore. They're interactive, they expand, you can play games in them. So how do you make one of these complex, rich media ads work across thousands of different mobile apps? You'd need a different adapter for every single country, wouldn't you? It'd be a huge pain.
Well, that's exactly the problem advertisers had with these rich media ads. Every app was like a different country with a different power outlet. An ad built for one app just wouldn't work in another one.
MRAID is the universal power adapter for mobile ads. It's a common language, an API, that lets the ad and the app talk to each other. So the ad can use MRAID to say, hey, I need to expand to full screen now, or I need to resize. And any app that speaks MRAID will know exactly what to do.
And that right there is the golden ticket. Write once, run anywhere. It means creative agencies can build a super complex interactive ad just one time. And thanks to MRAID, it will run perfectly in thousands of different apps. This is a massive win for efficiency, saving creative teams countless hours of work.
Now, so far, we've been talking about standards that the whole industry agreed on. But sometimes, a single company creates its own rules for its own world. So let's shift gears and look inside Apple's iOS ecosystem and a really unique standard they built for a friendlier ad experience.
Yeah, everyone knows Apple runs a very tight ship on iOS. So when they want to introduce a new feature that's kind of like an ad, they build the tools for it right into the operating system. And SKOverlay is a perfect example of this philosophy in action.
Basically, SKOverlay lets an app developer recommend another app to you. But, and this is the key, instead of a really jarring full-screen pop-up that takes over your phone, it shows the small, clean, elegant banner. It honestly looks and feels like it's part of the App Store, which creates this immediate sense of trust. Think about it. The old way of promoting apps was often loud and really disruptive. SKOverlay is the complete opposite. It's a polite suggestion. It just slides up with its message, and if you're not interested, a simple swipe and it's gone. It's all about making the experience better for you, the user. So as we've walked through these different examples, from identifying ad slots, to measuring them, to making them interactive, you start to see a common thread emerge, don't you? These unsung heroes, they really are the bedrock of the entire digital ad world. These standards are what allow this incredibly complex ecosystem to function and to evolve. They solve these fundamental problems of trust and efficiency, and they act as a common language so that thousands of different technologies can all work together seamlessly.
You know, GPID, OMSDK, and MRAID, they all solved huge problems for their time. But as we look ahead to the new challenges of things like AI-generated content and user privacy and sustainability, it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What's the next invisible standard that we're going to need to build a digital world we can all rely on?